Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
Well, I want to welcome you to the Kyler Murray era. It is underway as the Cardinals' #1 overall draft pick hit the field earlier today. And yes, it was quite the scene, MJ. 56 total players on the field, including draft picks, undrafted rookie free agents, tryout players. In other words, 56 players, but one for every media member that was on the sidelines, or so it appeared.
Over what? Over 40?
Over
43
40.
to be exact.
Easy.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before the show, and usually when you get to the postseason, and when the Cardinals got to the NFC Championship game, they have all these scheduled press conferences. But if you get a chance to go in the locker room, it's hard to get sound. So maybe that's the closest comparison. But it's all about Kyler Murray.
Absolutely.
And the national media was here, ESPN's here, the NFL Network's here. I'm sure we got some other writers here. So when you draft a guy first overall and it's not the norm, this is what happens.
Oh, yeah, and this is what it's going to be like throughout the offseason and into training camp. And, of course, as we get into the season as well, when Murray starts week 1, we all expect him to start week 1. But certainly good to see some action on the field. All these guys that we've been reading about, seeing highlights, and now to actually see someone that we've been reading about actually live and in person.
Yeah, and I'm always curious to see what guys look like in their uniform. I mean, Zach Allen, you could see he's like I wouldn't say he's a door frame, but he's huge, and you can see he's going to get bigger.
I like that description, though.
But, I mean, his shoulders, and he's so young, and now he's got a little money in his pocket, and obviously the Cardinals are going to make sure he's in the weight room, and they got a great nutrition plan for him, the cafeteria. So these guys are going to get a lot stronger. Not saying they're not strong now, but this is the NFL. This is your profession. But he fills out the uniform. And then you throw in, you look at Hakeem Butler. Wow. I mean, just tall, long arms, long legs. And then, you look at a guy like Byron Murphy. Yeah, he's got to gain some weight, but you just kind of can see the athleticism. And it wouldn't shock me if he's a starter in week 1. Of course, competition with Trey Brock. Andy Isabella wearing number 89. We were talking about, we haven't seen a lot of good Cardinals in the 80s. Maybe Anquan Bones, some others, Stevie Breston. There was a few. I don't want to exclude anybody, but he's wearing number 89. And we have so many guys that are in the teens. It's kind of different to see a slot receiver wearing number 89.
Caleb Wilson filled out the uniform well as we'll get more into what we saw in the limited amount of time that the media was out at practice, but that a little bit later on in the show as we take off here on this Friday afternoon, let you know what's ahead on the show. And we will hear from Kyler Murray. How was his first NFL practice? We'll also hear from Kliff Kingsbury. What did he see from the rookies here on day 1? Andy Isabella, Zach Allen, Hakeem Butler, and Deionte Thompson, what they had to say to the media. And, of course, your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show. We'll do that a little bit later on. But first things first, the news of the day, and it is done. It was actually done well ahead of the first practice, and that is Kyler Murray. Contract signed, 4 years with a team option for a 5th. Let's take you behind the scenes. Hear from the man himself about that contract signing via azcardinals.com.
Hey, Bird Gang, Kyler Murray here. Just signed my first contract, man. I'm excited. Can't wait to touch the field tomorrow and get this thing started. Looking forward to playing in front of y'all and, bringing a lot of wins and hopefully, win a lot of championships together, man. I cannot wait.
That's a good look, isn't it?
For me, being in Arizona, being a Cardinal, it's I can honestly say there's no place I'd rather be. Just breathe a smile to my face knowing that I get the opportunity of a lifetime to be the quarterback of this team. Obviously, I have to work towards that and earn that responsibility, but just making my family proud and continue to work hard and try to bring this organization some rings.
So I've got a little present for you.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah, it's good.
Just a little memento for today.
Yeah.
Kind of fun.
Yes, sir. First practice tomorrow as a Cardinal, being able to put the helmet on today and kind of seeing everything, getting to get my locker and everything like that. like I said, it's a dream come true, but at the same time, it's just the beginning. There's a lot of hard work that needs to be done. I love this game. Every time I touch the field, I've said it many times, I feel like I'm the most impactful guy on the field. I feel like I'm the best player on the field at all times, but that comes with a lot of work and a lot of confidence, within the work. So, I feel like the fans, hopefully, I'll be able to prove to them that they can trust me and that they can, ride with me and rely on me.
Congratulations.
That's
It's official.
That's it.
Outstanding. I'm excited.
Yes, sir.
Let's pull the curtain back a little bit here. As that was playing, our producer, Jim Omohundro, in our ears asked, did you guys get a pen when you signed? And the answer is no, we didn't.
And there were no cameras.
Just happy to be here.
Just shook Mr. Bidwell's hand and thanked him for the opportunity.
Absolutely. But again,
now we had a meeting with him.
Yes.
Like every employee that gets hired here.
A nice memento for that contract signing. And just a note on Michael Bidwell, I don't know if you heard the Big Red Rage last night, but Paul Calvisi and Ron Wolfley asked about the Murray signing and brought up Russell Wilson. And Michael brought up 2012 draft saying, quote, "It was, I think, a mistake to put on so much emphasis on height," unquote, meaning the Cardinals seriously considered drafting Russell Wilson in 2012. Did not. That was the Rod Graves was the general manager, Ken Whisenant the head coach. Steve Keim was a part of the process, but he was the vice president of player personnel. So that was something that maybe 7 years later you learn from your mistakes and say, you know what, we passed on this type of quarterback once before. We can't afford to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I can go further. I mean, Michael wanted to know why we didn't draft Russell Wilson at the time, and he has every right. He's the owner. He relies on his football people to make football decisions. But the way that Russell Wilson was playing, and I'm sure they said, hey, maybe we didn't have a higher grade on him because you stick to your board. But he actually wanted to know why he was not on the radar. And maybe he was, but obviously they had other needs in the first and second round. I'd be curious to see who they picked in that third round. So, but anyways, yeah, I mean, this is what happens. It wasn't hindsight. It was during the season of his rookie season that he asked why wasn't he ranked higher, or why wasn't he on our board? Maybe a first or second round pick. Now, if on paper, every team passed on him for at least 2 rounds.
Oh, and that's the thing. 32 teams passed, including the Seahawks.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like, oh, what were we thinking? No, everyone was thinking the same thing.
Well, actually, I remember hearing this from John Snyder and Pete Carroll. I don't know who they drafted, but they were going to draft him in the second round, and they were just hoping that he would slide to the third. And like 3 or 4 picks, they were worried that somebody else may take him. But obviously, him going to NC State and Wisconsin, I mean, height was an issue, but that's how far we've come in the National Football League.
The other part where we've come as far as the NFL is the fact that the day before rookie minicamp, the number 1 overall pick is signed, because there have been years where it was the day before training camp, the day of training camp, a week into training camp, 2 weeks into training camp, missing training camp altogether, in which draft picks still had not signed.
Well, I think when Mike Disner was here and when they decided to go with the slot system, this is happening, and people are asking, why haven't we signed anybody yet? Well, first of all, they're not in town. They got to take a physical, and the teams that had signed players prior, I think it's 30% of the league has signed so far.
And a lot of teams had a rookie minicamp a week ago.
Exactly. So at this point, we're probably going to hear some news again about the rest of the guys just because they're in town. And once you take the physical, what would they announce, 6 yesterday?
They did.
So they got 5 more left. I anticipate something will be done at some point. But the reason why they waited is you want to get these guys in town face-to-face. They have already negotiated with their agent. So he's good to go for the next 5 years. They own his option to 5th year, and if he plays well, he's going to get a nice long contract.
The other 5 players who signed on Thursday, and these are 4-year contracts: cornerback Byron Murphy, defensive lineman Zach Allen, wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson, offensive lineman Josh Miles, and tight end Caleb Wilson. And as you mentioned, MJ, 5 more in that 2019 draft class still to be signed, but that should be done here in the next couple of days or so.
Now, a lot of teams back in the day, if you didn't sign the contract, they would give you a waiver claim. And it was up to the agent and the team and the trust that if a player goes down, that you're still going to pay that contract. So a lot of guys haven't signed, but there's a waiver that you can sign, and you're on the hook for the contract. Now, you wonder the severity of the injury, but if you drafted a guy high, obviously you don't want him to get hurt, and you're willing to take the risk, but they do sign a waiver, so money-wise they're taken care of. But right now, everyone that's the Cardinals have brought in, They have signed a contract. Free agents, a little bit different situation. They're coming here for an opportunity.
Let's give you a behind-the-scenes look at the rookies' first official day, and that was Thursday afternoon when they arrived into the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, going about getting their equipment, their helmets, their gear, and just making sure that they were all set as far as where they're going to be situated in the locker room. And then, of course, you get to see Zach Allen, Josh Miles, Keyshawn Johnson, and Byron Murphy all signing their contracts. So you kind of on azcardinals.com got to see what they do before they actually hit the field earlier today.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, the fact that they all arrived at the same time, and at some point you got to go see the trainer, and you got to pick out your helmet and pads, and obviously jersey numbers. So it's an exciting day, and now you get to see them on the field with actually a jersey, versus just a name. So it's and again, when it comes to content, we do peel the curtains back here. So I recommend you head over to azcardinals.com. There's a ton of video up there behind the scenes. We're going to get into the flight plan a little bit later here. So there's a lot going on. If you want to get the inside, peel the curtains back, I recommend azcardinals.com.
And as far as the uniform numbers that have been assigned to these players, obviously we know about Kyler Murray wearing number 1, Byron Murphy, 33, Andy Isabella, 89, as he gets fitted for his helmet. Zach Allen, 97. He wore single digits at Boston College, now at 97. Hakeem Butler, 17. Deionte Thompson, 30. Lamont Gilliard, 65. Keyshawn Johnson, 19. We had heard him talk about the 19 wide receivers drafted ahead of him, so it was important for him to get 19 on his uniform. Josh Miles is 66, Michael Dogbeat 91, and Caleb Wilson 84 as far as your Cardinals 11 rookies that were drafted. And again, the entire roster uploaded to azcardinals.com. And the Byron Murphy number 33, you had a chance to talk to him after practice.
Yeah, he came on the show last week, so I wanted to thank him. And it was after his media session. I said 33. And he said, yeah, you know where I was drafted? I said, yeah, you were the first pick in the second round, so that's 33. And he said, yeah. So this is 2 guys, and I just think he was projected to be a first-round pick. Cardinals had him somewhere in the top 15. He drops to the second round. He wanted to be here. He's a local guy. It makes sense. But, again, this is what happens when you have all these mock drafts and all these kids are disappointed. The fact is that their name was called. They're gonna, if they can obviously make progress and work hard, then they're gonna get rewarded for the future. But yeah, this is what happens. But hey, whatever it takes for these guys to be motivated and chip on their shoulder, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. The rookies also during this 3-day rookie minicamp also hear from the team president, Michael Bidwell.
I'll address the rookies, and I do it every year, and it's a message of welcoming them and also understanding they all have a chance to compete. They all have a chance to learn, talk about our coaching staff, talk about everything that we have done here, all the investment that we have made, and it's all about them, whether it's nutrition, whether it's our training room, whether it's sports science, whether it's all the IT we put around, the coaching and the technology to make sure that they have an ability to learn the playbook and then go out there and compete.
Again, it doesn't matter how you got into the building. You are in the building, and there is your opportunity. And that was Michael from the Big Red Rage last night, speaking with Paul Calvisi and Ron Wolfley. Some other roster news and notes. The team ahead of today's first practice did sign a couple of more undrafted rookie free agents. Cornerback Nate Brooks out of North Texas and running back Wes Hills out of Slippery Rock University. He set a school record and finished 3rd in Division II with over 1,700 rushing yards. So someone maybe that the Cardinals have an eye on, if not in 2019. Keep on the radar for the future because, the what he did at the college level, again, it was Division II, but they saw something in him at 6 feet, 218 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big back, and not saying they're going to use a fullback, but, you look at the depth chart at running back, David Johnson, Chase Edmonds, DJ Foster's coming off an injury, really good special teams player. TJ Logan really hasn't found his niche. I think they're going to keep 3 or 4 running backs. I got to think bringing him in and based on what he can do versus any other guy on the roster, I'm not saying they're going to have a 3rd down back. I don't know how he can catch the ball in the open field, but I think he's in the mix if they keep 4 guys. Kliff actually was asked about him, and that's what I'm paraphrasing. He said, we don't have that type of guy on the roster when it comes to the running back position. So clearly they ID'd him as a guy that maybe could help him in short yardage. I mean, obviously you don't want to take David Johnson off. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think he's got a chance to make the roster.
Well, and another good note for Hill is he's a two-time team captain. And that's something that you've pointed out for a while now that is important for these college kids making that jump to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like over the last years, and I probably shouldn't mention this until I know the number, but the Cardinals, it just happens to check that box. But a lot of these guys are team captains. And so it's not like they're coming here and they were following somebody else. I mean, if you're a team captain, usually it's voted on by the players, your peers. And that speaks volumes. And I think at least 3 or 4 from this class are captains. Got to assume Murray was a captain. So maybe 5. But over the last few years, they have done a good job. And, again, you're not going to draft him just for that, but it also checks that box. He's going to come in here and try to lead versus be a follower.
Now, with all these additions to the roster, the Cardinals had to let some players go. 9 players have been released, including 4 offensive linemen. Justin Evans, Zach Goldich, Will House, and Brant Weiss. A couple of the wide receivers released, Bryant Mitchell and Jalen Tolliver. Also cornerback Jonathan Moxey, defensive lineman Pisoni Tassini, and running back Brandon Wilds. And going back to the offensive line, there were 22 minus 4. Now there's 18. Still a lofty number, but it's a considerable number. But that's a number that I think they're going to go with for right now because they need to make sure what 5 and then what 8, maybe 9 overall that are the best that can protect their number one investment in Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if they like anybody from the tryouts. Now, again, you can expand your roster to 90 until the final cut down, which is basically after that 4th preseason game. So they could sign one of these guys from the tryouts. Maybe they go a little bit thinner at another position, but right now 18. And normally teams take 15 offensive linemen to camp. 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string. And the way these guys have some position flexibility, some will get an opportunity running at a certain position on the 2nd team, and then they'll pop over to the 3rd team in another position. So ideally, you're going to bring 15 to camp. Right now, they have 18 on the roster. We'll watch that as the offseason progresses.
Just getting started here on a Friday afternoon as we broadcast from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center and doing so in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. And, of course, a reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinal podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcasts. Let's take it to the field, where what we saw earlier today as far as the day 1 of the 3-day rookie minicamp. Now, media and everyone else not allowed to be on the field for too long. In fact, just 25 minutes, so enough time to see everyone stretch and then get into position and individual drills. But, of course, all eyes were on number 1, and it was just funny as I try to paint the picture here, is all of the media is located on one side of the field. And for team stretch, everyone was focused in on Kyler Murray. About maybe 24 cameras, people just congregating around him. And then once the team huddled up and then they broke into their different areas on the field for position drills, it was like a swarm of bees as everyone just went shh to wherever Kyler Murray was watching him throw the football.
I didn't do that. You see what I did?
Yeah, I kind of didn't want to do that either. I was like, there's 10 other draft picks and other players out here.
No. I actually went over there like 5 minutes early because I knew that was going to happen. That's a veteron move.
I just figured you had your eyes on some other guys because everyone was going to have their eye on Murray.
Well, I watched the D tackles. I thought Akoff, the D-line coach. Chris Akoff. This guy's the real deal. I mean, him and
fun to hear
him
and
and
fun
Kugler.
to watch.
These guys should be much better in the trenches. His physicality. I thought he did a great job last year when it was open. So I was watching them, and then I started to watch the quarterbacks, obviously some light toss throws, watching Kliff. So I was there a couple minutes early. Then I just saw all these people, and I'm like, well, I can move over for the next 40 people.
I tell you what, Kyler does have excellent toe-touching form. And the side bend stretch, he knocked it out of the park right off the bat. So impressive in the stretching.
Very well said. We kind of skipped over how these guys looked during the 9-minute period in which they were stretching. But, you got to make sure you stretch before you start.
Jimmy was out there.
Absolutely. Literally. Everyone was out there.
Well, listen, I mean,
It's 82 degrees, man.
exactly.
Oh, that's true.
the
So
first
it
thing
was
he
a
said.
gorgeous
It's nice out here.
late morning, early afternoon.
Now, Murray did say, it was nice today. He knows it's going to get hotter. I don't know if he knows how hot it's going to get because these guys are going to be here sort of like June 25th. And they got here at 6:30 this morning. They don't go home until 6 p.m. Don't feel sorry for them. This is what they do for a living.
12 hours on Friday, 12 hours on Saturday, and a half day on Sunday. But getting back to Kyler Murray, because that's what everyone wants to know about.
Murray time.
Played catch a little bit with the other quarterback on the roster, Drew Anderson, and then there were some throws to the wide receivers, some quick slants, some deep balls. And did you happen to notice the wide receivers and who was first and second as far as the running the routes?
I didn't.
You notice that Larry Fitzgerald is always first in line for these drills.
Yeah.
Well, first in line was Hakeem Butler. Second in line was Andy Isabella.
There you go. I mean, we know that Larry wasn't going to be here. Like
Well,
every
I
other
didn't mean
veteran.
him, but during
It doesn't count. It's rookie minicamp.
no, but it's important.
Yes.
Who's as far as
Well,
who's first?
Okay, that's true. But
First in line, I'm talking about.
Yes, I mean we know that Isabella is going to be active.
Yes.
We know that Butler Johnson will be interesting, but according to the Cardinals, they love his route running, and there's a reason why they drafted him. I think they're all a little bit different. I don't think you can go wrong with Butler as your X receiver, along with Kevin White. Isabella, I know he gets pigeonholed that is just a slot receiver. No, he can also line up on the outside with 4.31 speed, and then you throw in Johnson, just his route running ability. So. Yeah, I mean, all three of those guys should be active. But I didn't see that. I really didn't pay attention because Larry's not here, so I didn't worry about it.
Again, it's 20, 25 minutes, so not a lot to see. But the one thing that did jump off the page, so to speak, to me, and it's what we've heard about Kyler Murray and his arm strength, but just how effortless it was for him to throw that football and how quickly it leaves his hand and then downfield 20, 25, 30-plus yards to these receivers who were, catching the ball in stride. There were some overthrows, but again, that's the learning curve here between quarterback and wide receivers trying to get to know one another. But that was just the one takeaway, and you can't draw any conclusions off of 25 minutes, but just how well he throws the football. Everything we've heard and seen on tape, but now to see it in person.
Yeah, I tweeted out just first impressions, live arm, quick release, nice touch on the intermediate throws. It matches his college tape. Kingsbury spending a lot of time with him. Head coach-quarterback relation is very important.
Absolutely.
The ball just jumps out of his hand, and he's so fluent just getting rid of it. I mean, I know he was throwing against air, and we don't have Christian Kirk here. We don't have Larry Fitzgerald, but only thing I can base it on, and it really matches up what he did in college. I know this is rookie minicamp, but it beats the alternative. I've seen young quarterbacks come in here, whether you're drafted in the third or fourth round, and you're like, oh, they got a lot of work to do. Logan Thomas.
Yeah, that's we kind of forgot about him.
That was subtle.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I get it. I mean, usually, if you draft a guy in the 6th or 7th round, you're just taking a flyer on him. But they liked him enough to where they drafted him in the 4th round.
4th round.
Yeah. I mean, you got to take a bite at the apple. You just can't avoid it.
Yeah, and you never know.
You never know. And now he's in the NFL playing tight end.
That's the pick where someone said, I thought you said you weren't taking a quarterback, and BA said, I lied.
I lied.
That was right, because the Friday night,
It was a Friday night.
he says, we're not taking a quarterback. First pick on Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday quarterback. Thanks,
That's
BA.
the misinformation known as the NFL draft. By the way, talking about head coach, Kingsbury thought day one was, quote, good energy. He was then asked about his quarterback, Kyler Murray.
Not bad, some familiarity with the system helps, and he can really throw it. He's got a presence about himself, so I liked how he operated.
He seems completely unaffected by all this. How important will that be for him to kind of manage all the expectations and pressure?
Yeah, he's been born and bred to do this. I've said it all along, and that's his mentality. I mean, this is what he's always expected to do and be, and so he's kind of living it out right now, and it may affect other people, but it doesn't seem to affect him.
What's it like for you to finally be with him on the field? You guys know each other forever, and now you're finally together.
Yeah, it was fun. We have a good relationship, and he knows I'm going to do everything in my power to help him be the best player he can be, and that's what he wants. He wants to be pushed.
Kliff, what were your expectations when we get to Sunday? Just progress and
Yeah, that's it. Just get a lot of guys adjusted to our terminology, how we practice, how we do things, rolling into Monday when we get going with the vets.
There are a couple other notes on what was asked of Kingsbury, and one that stood out to me was because he was asked about how much time he spent with the quarterbacks, and to a certain extent that's to be expected. But he is going to be, in his words, quote, hands-on when it comes to the quarterback. But he also talked about balancing that with the rest of the team because you are the head coach. You need to kind of be aware of what's going on. Now, I think a lot of it defensively, he'll rely on Vance Joseph. But as the head coach, you have to at least walk around or be seen at different points. At least I would think so, and not just be so focused in on one position group and one side of the football.
Well, I think, and I mentioned this last year with Wilkes, that when you're a first-time head coach, you need one voice, okay? But just like Sean McVay brought in Wade Phillips, you're the head coach of the defense. He relies on Vance Joseph because he's a former head coach. He was a head coach last year. Obviously, he's a defensive coordinator, wanted to be a head coach again. Jeff Rodgers, title-wise, it says assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. So that's how much they value Jeff Rodgers. They kept him over from the previous staff. So one voice, I think everyone knows who the head coach is, but defensively it's going to take him a little pressure off him saying, yeah, he meets with his coaches every morning. They go through with the install. So it's not like he's hiding or he's not around. It's just he's so focused on getting this offense going, he's going to rely on Vance Joseph and Jeff Rodgers' expertise. And again, they meet in the morning, so he knows exactly what they're trying to accomplish.
And he's already watched the film
Yes.
from the previous day's practice.
He watches all the film.
Yeah.
You walk by his office, all he's doing is watching film.
And another voice that we heard from today, Kyler Murray, on what he felt about his first day on an NFL practice field.
I mean, I feel good. I feel rested. Besides my feet hurting, I feel pretty good. So, not too worried about it right now.
How do your feet hurt?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I put cleats on, and I've been running around. The cleats were pretty new, so yeah.
So what's being out about how Kliff Kingsbury is trying to, just acclimate you guys in the first day in the system today?
Just making everybody comfortable. Obviously you're going to mess some stuff up. Guys aren't used to, his system, what he calls, what he runs, and stuff like that. But knowing that, with time it'll get better. It's day one, and it's just part of the process.
Kyler, people know you say you're able to kind of inoculate yourself from all this attention and all the hype. Is that just because you've been dealing with this since high school?
That's just how I am. I don't really, put too much into, the off the field stuff, whatever y'all say or the media says, but for me, all I can do is just go out and play my game and let that speak for itself.
Do you approach the three drafted receivers?
Great. I mean, like I said, it's day one, but seeing them, getting to throw to them, finally, getting to meet them and stuff like that throughout this whole process, it's gonna be fun.
How do you approach working with Kliff now after years of knowing each other?
It's great. I obviously it's only been day one, but. I can already kind of, feel the rhythm going, but, hopefully we can keep this thing going and, do something good, do something great.
Do you approach being out here with the rookies any differently than you will when you're out there with veterans?
For me, no. Leading the same way, practicing the same way, trying to just go out there and compete and, be me and, move the ball down the field.
How do you feel you threw the ball today?
I thought it was all right. It was a good day overall, but it's day one. Like I said, you're not comfortable with everybody's routes. You don't know how they run certain stuff and stuff like that. So with time, that'll obviously get better. We'll mesh up better. But I thought it was good first day. I don't say rust. I just think like I said, not everybody knows. I don't know where Hakeem's going to be or Andy's going to be certain times like that. But like I said, with time we'll know. I'll know how everybody runs their routes, and like I said, that just comes with reps.
What do you want to accomplish by Sunday?
By Sunday? Oh, just coming out here competing, having great days, putting good days together, and that'll lead up to just being better every day, and that's the plan for me is just get better every day, come out here and lead these guys.
You have to remember it's been more than 3 months since he's been on a football field going through football drills. Now he's worked out, but it's different in a team setting, so that's why you hear the words rust. And he talked about his cleats not feeling great, and he was kind of walking, shuffling, and you could tell something was bothering him. And it turns out it's his cleats. And look, we've all worn tight shoes or shoes that just don't fit well, and if your feet aren't feeling good, then you're not feeling good. But that will be corrected here in the next couple of days, and I don't worry about any of that. But at least he's back on the field, and it's going to take time. You're going to hear that a lot, that phrase, it's going to take time, a process, because everyone is learning each other for the first time.
Yeah, and the beauty for Murray, and maybe it's a little bit of a drawback, he doesn't know a lot of guys on the team. I'm sure
everybody knows about him.
Everyone knows who Kyler Murray is.
But he's trying to get to know his teammates.
Yeah, maybe in these Elite 11 camps he was going to. They're usually for quarterbacks, but you do have some skill position players there. So he's kind of like, everyone knows me, but I don't know everyone, and that will take some time. But obviously he's familiar of the draft class. He obviously knows who's going to be throwing to, but it's going to take some time, just the familiarity. And one thing I was encouraged today is, obviously I think they're going to run a variation of Lincoln Riley's offense, which why not? And then obviously what Texas Tech did, and you kind of sync it up. But the fact is that, he said the terminology and the vocabulary are similar. So that goes a long way, because you get, a guy like Sam Bradford, he's played in 4 systems, so stuff carries over. But sometimes, like John Gruden's play call is like, it seems like it takes 8 seconds to get out. Sometimes you just give these guys numbers, and that's what they did in college. So I'm curious to see how, and Kliff will have an opportunity to talk in his headset until it goes off at 15 seconds. But I just like the fact that totally on the same page. It's a work in progress, but they're starting off on a good note where you're not have to retrain the brain and the mental memory to where it's something new for them. It's like a right tackle playing left tackle. You're thinking, big deal. Well, if you were writing right-handed your whole life and all of a sudden you had to start writing left-handed, it's an adjustment.
Yeah, I think Murray is a step or two ahead because of that familiarity with what Kingsbury wants to do based off what he did in high school and then in college.
I was encouraged. Listen, it doesn't happen like this. It's almost like it was too good to be true, but here we are. Carson Palmer, veteran quarterback, didn't play his first year behind John Kitna. It took him 8 weeks to figure out Arians' offense. 8 weeks. This is a guy that's been in so many different systems, so many different coordinators. It just takes time. But here, I think they're a little bit ahead of the curve, even though we got a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback.
It is a Friday edition of Cards Cover 2 here from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center as we broadcast in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information as we continue taking a look at this 2019 draft class. Yesterday, we heard from 4 of the team's 11 picks. I want to go back and revisit some of those comments, starting with second-round selection, wide receiver Andy Isabella. And the big highlight that came out of that 3-day draft was the reaction inside the Cardinals draft room about the selection of Andy Isabella and how excited the Cardinals personnel were, including Kingsbury. And Isabella was asked if he had seen that footage.
I never watched it, but a lot of people were telling me about it. And it's cool that they believe in me. It's kind of a different scenario now. Usually no one believes in me, and I'm trying to fight my way into a spot. But it looks like they believe in me a lot, and hopefully I can prove them right.
That's a little bit different feeling because instead of trying to prove you belong, the Cardinals believe he belongs, and now it's up to him to show, yes, they made the right choice.
And Kliff was asked about being at the Derby, and he said it's his first time, but he also said that guys like Danny Amendola and Julian Edelman wanted to know about Andy Isabella. How about that? And there is some carryover when it comes to traits of both players.
Absolutely. 5'9", $188, and of course taken with the 62nd overall selection, a pick that was acquired in the Josh Rosen deal. And fair or not, Andy Isabella and Josh Rosen are going to be tied at the hip. Isabella was asked about that Thursday.
There's definitely pressure, but I think that makes it even more fun. I think I like the pressure, but I think that makes it funner. I think that's going to make me work harder, and I don't like letting people down. Usually when I get a shot, in the past experiences, I've shown up. So I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing and keep working hard.
You guys mentioned that Isabella and the Amendola contacting Kliff about him. On the Big Red Rage a week ago, Adrian Wilson, I'm going to quote him here, he said that he looks at Isabella as a, quote, souped-up Danny Amendola, end quote. So
that must be the comp that's going around.
Yeah, one of them at least.
And Isabella said after practice, I got to get the quote here, funny quote. He said on catching balls from Murray on Friday. Quote, probably the best let me screw this up again. Probably the best I've ever been thrown to.
To which Murray called very flattering.
Yeah. But, I mean, the guy played at UMass. No disrespect to those quarterbacks.
Well, you're talking about catching a ball from a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah. Probably? No, it was probably the best pass you caught.
One more note on Isabella. He asked about sharing a wide receiver's room with Larry Fitzgerald, and Isabella shared a story of him when he was young. And this is funny because, let's flash back. The year was 2009, Thanksgiving, and a then 12-year-old Isabella wearing a Larry Fitzgerald number 11 Cardinals jersey at their Turkey Bowl game in Mayfield, Ohio. And Mark Dalton, the vice president of media relations for the Cardinals, found this picture, tweeted it out, and there you can't miss him. I mean, right there, dead center, a little bit to the right, and wearing the Cardinals number 11.
Poor Fitzy.
No, it's a sign of his longevity.
I understand.
But that's a 12-year-old kid.
How are you not starstruck when you see Larry Fitzgerald? I don't care who you are.
That picture, Isabella's 12. Fitz had been in the league for 5 full years.
What'd you say, 2009?
2009.
Well, go back to the wild card game against the Packers, that epic game at then University of Phoenix Stadium. But so Isabella was 12 years old when that game took place, is what you're saying. That's crazy. That makes me feel old.
No, I was going to say that too. It's like we're in the same boat here, but it's more fun and easier to when it's the players that they make them feel old, not us.
I think if
we know we're old.
I think if you really want to get on Larry's good side, maybe if he trusts you, you could babysit his kids.
Now you're really making him sound like an old man.
Hey, did you say somebody asked if he was going to room with Larry Fitzgerald?
Sharing a wide receiver room.
I was like, no, Larry's got his own place.
He's got several rooms. Maybe they could stay at his place because he doesn't have like a house in the back of his house.
I don't know. He's got a lot of houses, but I mean, honestly, you'd like to be a fly on the wall,
absolutely, just to learn.
But Larry, I mean, there'll be times when he's E.F. Hutton where he'll say something, but there are times where you want to approach him to ask him a question because he's not that rah-rah guy, but if anybody searches him out, he will give you his time, and he will try to help you. So I think these guys are going to be nervous. But, again, he puts his pants on the same way you do. So from that standpoint, but I think –
except his pants are more expensive than yours.
Very well said. Keyshawn Johnson, by the way, is anxiously waiting for Larry Fitzgerald because, as his words, he wants to be a sponge and just soak whatever knowledge Fitz wants to give up.
Listen, you're going to have plenty of time. Now, I understand the excitement because all these guys have grew up watching them. And if you wanted to be like any wide receiver, I'm sure they have different styles based on their sizes and speed. There's one guy you can point to. What you ought to do, though, is look how he acts off the field. That would go a long way in anybody's life.
Absolutely. Continuing here, Zach Allen, the third-round pick, and what we've heard about him is his nonstop motor. He was asked on Thursday where that comes from.
I don't know. I just always, pride myself as being a hard worker. I think kind of part of that's just never taking a play off. And I think just kind of throughout, my career in high school and in college, I just had great coaches who really harped on that. And I think if you watch any BC game, it's not just me, it's everybody. I know for a fact you could see a lot of DBs chasing down some big runs and stuff like that. So I was just really fortunate to kind of get that instilled in me.
There's a kid that was always around the football, as evidence as we talked about the 100 tackles he had as a junior year. Well, he had 61 his 2018 season, 15 for a loss, 6.5 sacks, an interception, added 7 passes defense, 1 forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the video or the picture does any justice, but this guy's shoulders, and we got a chance to meet him, and we had this big door over here, and I was like, this guy looks like a door frame. Now, he is wearing number 97, which I like because he can rush the passer. A little bit early in drills today, he was going a little bit high, and so they made him do it a few different times, but I remember when Kyle Vandenbosch stepped on the premise here, and his stance was just out of whack, and Joe Green said, slow down, we're going to work this out, and by the next week, he kind of figured it out. So, again, maybe in college you can get away with getting a little bit high because he's so strong and he can shed the block. Here, you got to stay pad level, and you got to be able to have explosion off the ball. And those are things that he'll learn. I'm sure when he watches the film, he's going to go, I know what I'm doing wrong. So that's why coaching is so important when it comes to teaching. These guys have been great. Now you come in here, and it's a little bit different.
Someone needs to tell Zach Allen that he doesn't need to wear shoulder pads to press conferences.
Yeah.
Or wait, those were his actual shoulders.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so for people that don't have the video,
Right,
and that have seen Mike Jurecki before, so think of Mike Jurecki and then think of the opposite. That's Zach Allen's shoulders.
Yeah, I'm a skeleton here.
Yeah,
The original Skeletor.
It's like 4 Mike Jurecki shoulders equal 1 Zach Allen
And trust
shoulder.
me, again, with their nutrition plan and the cafeteria and the weightlifting, just like Mason Cole, he's going to get stronger. It's just a matter of time. Obviously his head's going to be spinning, but trust me, he's going to be part of their rotation this year. You're going to look forward to watching number 97.
And where he plays on that defensive line, he prides himself on his versatility, and he was asked why he was so successful at Boston College.
In a defense, not every play is designed for you to make the play. You just got to play within the fit of the defense and really just do your job is kind of the key. And when you do that, usually good things come to you. It's always finds its way that people get theirs, as the saying is. So just not trying to do too much, get out of my gap. I just stay in there and just if I have to help out on another one and it's the right timing, then I'll do it.
I think he's a younger Brooks Reed, and Brooks Reed's going to be a guy that's going to be a rotation player, plays with his hair on fire in practice. So I think he can learn from him. But this guy, considering 100 tackles and then tackle for losses, he's going to be really good against the run. He'll be able to stick his nose in there. Maybe he's going to get double teamed. That will free somebody up like a linebacker to shoot the gap, and he could set the edge in the run game, and that's very similar to Brooks Reed. Obviously, we'll see Chandler Jones and Terrell Suggs do that, but you're going to have some rotation guys, and I think him and Brooks Reed will provide that on the outside.
Saw Jones walking around earlier today, saying he needed to impart some wisdom on the rookies. Want to make sure that they were all, making sure.
No, that's a nice
do.
veteran. Usually, guys try to get out of town, but and plus the weather's nice, and sometimes you just got to get out of your house and you got to go hang out at work. And Chandler Jones did that today.
Moving back to the offense, Hakeem Butler, 6'5", 227. He's got 4.48 speed, a 36-inch vertical. And how does he believe he fits within that Kingsbury offense?
I just want to come in and honestly just make plays wherever I can, whenever the opportunity presents itself. I've seen some things that he's done at Texas Tech, and I definitely know I could have fit in there. And, just a lot of things that I've just seen him do with Texas Tech and the quarterbacks and the receivers that he had. He's always had big receivers that make plays, and hopefully I can just come in and do that.
Now, he wears number 17, and he's, again, listed at 227, but does not look like he weighs 227. I mean, not that he's just a lean, pole, but anything, but he's got the frame and the height. Now you just wonder, okay, how are you running your routes? Are you catching the ball? And he admitted when he talked to the media on Thursday, he owned up to the number of drops he had last season. He made the difficult catches. It was the easy catches that sometimes he had a hard time with.
Well, playing at Iowa State, I know that they've put guys in the NFL, but a couple things stick out to me. Can he get off press coverage? Separation is the biggest thing in the NFL. I don't care how fast you are. I don't care how tall you are. So can he get off press coverage at the line of scrimmage? Next thing is he's going to have to become a better route runner. And with Jerry Sullivan here, again, he should be a sponge listening to Jerry Sullivan. And the other thing is he had too many drops. And he mentioned maybe lack of focus, concentration. So when he breaks that huddle, he's got to be focused on the route he's running. Maybe he's going to have to block at times. So to me, those are coachable. And once he starts to get that mental reps, it'll become second nature to him. But 3 things, I would say: press coverage. He's got to become a better, smooth route runner. Because sometimes you're not going to get the 50-50 ball. Sometimes you got to come back for the ball. And the quarterback has to trust you. When you turn around, that ball's coming. And then obviously more focus. And maybe it's a hands thing. Maybe it's an eye where he's got to focus on the ball coming to him. Because, again, his wingspan, his catch radius, his tree, it's off the charts based on his height and the fact that he can get those 50-50 balls.
Well, now football becomes his sole focus.
Yes.
There's not the working the balance football and school. Now it's just all about learning what he's being asked to do here with the Cardinals?
Well, we know Larry and Kirk are your 2 top wide receivers. Isabella right now would be your 3rd. I think Butler's 4, and then you throw in Johnson, and we shouldn't be forgetting about Kevin White or Trent Sherfield. But they're all going to be hungry for targets and touches. One game it could be this guy. The next game it could be this guy. It's all going to be based on matchups. But I don't think anybody's going to put up 1,000 yards. But I want to see these guys 30 to 50 catches, and I want to see him double digits when it comes to average yards per catch. I want to say he averaged 14.6 in the NFL. In college. Those are the big-time receivers. Maybe he don't have as many targets, but I want to see him, if he gets 30 to 40 balls this year, I'd like to see it over 10 to 12 yards when it comes to average yards per catch.
Mike mentioned on the press coverage, getting off press coverage. It reminds me of yesterday's press conference where Ron Wolfley asked him about getting off press, and I have an audio clip from that. And he says the reason why he likes press, and here it is.
I love press because I'm physical, and I realized, like I tell everybody, I realized kind of early that defensive players, they don't like to be hit. So you hit them first, it wake them up quick.
Yeah,
that's
hit them first before they can hit you.
And to me, he's got the arms, because you can make contact the first 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but you want to get on the side of his hips so you can start running your route. So I'm encouraged with that. Again, I would like to see him do it in a game. Preseason will be a test. Obviously, in training camp, going against the second string corners, maybe the first. So I'm encouraged that he knows that, and he's right about defensive players. But at the same time, I would like to see him extend his arms, try to shed the block, and then get on the guy's hip, because that's how he's going to get open. But I'm encouraged that he says that, but I think it's something that he's still going to have to work on. Everyone. N'Keal Harry's going to have an issue with that. Now, if the Cardinals drafted Harry, I was told it would take him about a year to get off press coverage. Not saying he couldn't do it, but they think they would see progress in the second half of the season. So it's like this for a lot of guys. In college, they're wide open. In the pros, you're not.
When Butler was drafted, we told you about him growing up for part of his early life without his mom. He lost his mom to cancer in 2012, had to move in with his cousins. He was asked Thursday about how he has dealt without having his mom around.
I look at it from 2 different perspectives. One, initially, you just you have that why me mentality, and it's tough. It's tough as a kid, and just with the life I had and just everything I was going through in Baltimore, just for her to just leave, it was like I don't have a mom anymore. But I realized over time she's always with me. I carry her with me every day. And from the second perspective, as I got older, I look back. I lost her so she can give me a new life, and I carry that with me every day. Without her, I might not have moved to Houston and started playing football so competitively and got recruited and even be sitting here today. So, I thank her for everything every day.
She's got a great attitude, and, of course, with Sunday being Mother's Day, a huge weekend for Hakeem Butler. Another kid drafted by the Cardinals who has a great attitude is Alabama safety Deionte Thompson. Wasn't drafted until the 5th round, number 139, and he's carrying around a big chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely. 13 safeties picked before me. That's something I'll never forget. It just added a little chip on my shoulder. So, I'm ready to go. But I'm thankful that I landed here. Place with some guys in the secondary that I can get under right away and learn how to do things here. So, everything happens for a reason. I landed, I feel like, in a great spot, around a great group of guys, great coaching staff. So I'm ready to get to work.
What were the emotions like, knowing that a lot of the fall was out of your control, where teams seemed worried about the knee more so than the actual production and your talent level?
It really sucked, but at the end of the day, I was just happy to hear my name get called. That was a huge milestone for me and my family. It's just something that I worked so hard for all my life. So, when I got the call, I just automatically just started crying, and it was just damn, my dream is come true. But, I cried for probably I want to say 0.2 seconds. It's because I'm damn, I just still had that chip on my shoulder, I was on the board that late, but it's out of my control. What I can control now is what I do while I'm here, and that's the only thing I can control. Just come in here and work hard every day, learn. God gave me 2 ears for a reason. Just listen, to all the veteran guys and just find a way to contribute.
Love the honesty and whatever motivation that you can find. And he's turned a negative, which initially he believed was a negative, into a positive. And, of course, Deionte Thompson, I think, could be someone maybe not right away, but could be a long-term piece of the puzzle, especially at the safety position because of what he's accomplished and what he's done. It's just he fell because of wrist concerns, knee concerns, but all of that is behind him, according to him. Now he's just got to show it on the field.
Well, I love the fact that he played for Nick Saban. Nick Saban cut his teeth coaching defensive backs when he was early in his career, maybe when he was under Belichick in Cleveland. The fact he's played in the SEC against really good opponents, I'd be disappointed too if some people consider him, maybe the third or fourth corner. Now, because he wasn't able to work out the combine, fractured wrist, and then a knee injury came up. So it seems like we've had this conversation throughout the course of the draft. He was projected to go a lot earlier, and the Cardinals got him in the 5th round. And I do think whether it's on special teams, Swearinger, the Cardinals would like to have him for the future. He's on the last year of his contract. Then you throw in Budda Baker, who's going to be due up in a few years. Rudy Ford's more of a special teams player. So that position right there can use an extra body. We know injuries occur. Antoine Bethea did a good job. When he played, a couple years ago, he got hurt, though. So it's good to have some depth. But I definitely think he's going to, at least I assume he's going to make the 53-man roster. And curious to see if he's active on game day just because of depth and special teams. And he did play special teams.
Before we get to Bird Gang Sound Off, some breaking news here on Cards Cover 2. The Cardinals have announced that they have signed their final 5 draft choices. So, in other words, all 11 draft picks are now under contract. Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler, Deionte Thompson, Lamont Gilliard, Michael Dogbe have all signed 4-year contracts. So as we discussed earlier in the show, it's just a matter of time, and that time is this afternoon here following practice and before day 2 of rookie minicamp.
Fantastic. I mean, usually sometimes it happens on a Saturday or Sunday, but they got 11 draft picks done basically in about 25 hours.
Absolutely. All right, now time for the Bird Gang to sound off here on this Friday edition of Cards Cover 2. Your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show. From Twitter, at Cardinals_31. Who stood out to you the most at the rookie minicamp today, either players or even coaches? And I'm glad, MJ, he brought up coaches because we've already talked about Chris Acock, but he was very vocal, very intense, and he had the line of the day, quote, "This isn't Cancun. Let's go."
We only watched the open portion practice. I did see David Rye, the wide receivers coach. I think he's going to have a big role because he's got to make sure the receivers, whether you're learning X, Y, and Z, he's got to make sure that they're separate. They're not lining up too close to each other. So it looked like he was doing a lot of coaching out there. But
player-wise, it's
hard to gauge. I mean, but based on what we were seeing, I would say Kyler Murray, obviously, he looked the part. He looked like the guy that they drafted first overall.
A couple of linebackers, Dante Booker out of Ohio State and James Folston Jr. from Pittsburgh, just because that inside linebacker position is thin. One of those two, or maybe even both, could perhaps find their way onto that 53-man roster and make the team as an undrafted rookie free agent.
Yeah, I think that's wide open, and I think once we get through the OTAs and possibly the mandatory minicamp, some of these asking prices could go down. I do think the Cardinals would address possibly offensive tackle, even though they got a couple guys on the roster. We'll see what happens after this weekend. D-line, just to add some more depth, because Dogbe's going to be in there. It just matters as you make the roster besides Zach Allen and Kemdichi. And then I think inside linebacker definitely.
All right, last question from Twitter user at ILIrishPSC2023 wants to know, how will Andy Isabella benefit this offense this year?
This year, I mean, he's going to be one of the go-to guys. Obviously, I'm curious to see where they line him up. He's always been known as a slot receiver with that speed, 4.31. I got to think they're going to put him on the outside. Sometimes he'll draw the number 3 corner. Maybe the team will play zone, so he may draw the number 2 corner. But I think they're going to move him around. I think he's going to be a big part of this offense. But again, they want to run the football first, protect Kyler Murray, get Larry and Kirk involved, and those other guys will be pieces. And again, if you got the third receiver on you, I don't care who you are, you got to win that matchup.
Appreciate the Bird Gang signing off here
Or
on this
defensive back.
Friday using the hashtag #CardsCovered2, hashtag #CardsCovered2, using the number 2 to get involved in the show. Always appreciate your questions. And as we leave you here on this Friday, always appreciate the work behind the scenes. Jeremy Schnell, who's been with us since the beginning here on Cards Covered 2. Today's his last day.
I'm
He's
happy
leaving
for
us.
him. I know, and trust me, we would love to have everyone stay, but this is a great opportunity for him. I can't thank him enough. I mean, between him and Devin, they've come in here and did a great job, and he's ready to take that next step. So we wish him a lot of luck, and if we can be any help to him in the future, let us know.
Absolutely. Moving on to bigger and better things in Montana. So keep an eye out for Jeremy Schnell
Vacation
out there.
place, maybe, huh? That place is beautiful.
Yeah. You can get a cabin up there?
No, I got to let him get settled first.
All right.
But maybe I'm up there for something else and just look him up. But Montana's beautiful.
All right. I'll take your word for it. I've never been there.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Now we've got a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Jeremy. And on that note, we'll leave you here on this Friday. Also, thanks to everyone behind the scenes. Tim Delaney, Jim Omohundro, and, of course, Jeremy Schnell, Jackson Sipes. That's Mike Jurecki. I'm Craig Grialou. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday here on Cards Covered 2.